Hello and welcome to my living room. I'm Kathleen Hershner. I'm so happy to have a familiar face here with me today. A woman that I had a very nice conversation with on the radio a few months ago has been generous enough and willing to come into my living room and actually be on TV again. Mamen Ramos, welcome to the set. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Kathleen.
You're no stranger to TV, though. People that are watching the show may say, I recognize that woman from somewhere.
Yes.
How will
probably.
they know you?
Sorry?
How will they know you?
Since when the 0.40 started.
They'll know you from the 4.0.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you did that program for 9 months or something.
Yes.
You could have had a baby during that period of time.
Yes.
Good heavens.
Yes.
So do you feel kind of like a TV pro now? Like you're really relaxed and you know the drill?
No. I'm a little bit nervous.
Really?
Yes, a little bit.
Oh, get over that.
A little bit, but
I'm going to snap my fingers and you're going to be...
I'm warming up and...
Okay, you're not going to be nervous.
No.
Were you nervous on the radio with me?
Not at all.
Yeah, radio's different.
Yeah. It's my first time with a studio. So with
Really?
Yes, like
With
this.
like a real...
I like your living room. It's very cozy.
It's nice to have a real set.
Yes.
The show that I did 2 years ago, the first season of this, we had a green screen.
Yeah.
And so they projected the set onto it, which meant that the lights in the studio were really bright.
Yeah.
Really intensely bright. These lights are more normal.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, your eyes would be like, you'd see stars. Because
Really?
because so much light was on your retina.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, let's revisit, if we can,
Okay.
for just a brief moment here, a little bit about who you are and some of the things that we talked about on the radio. So why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about yourself?
About myself, I was born in Zaragoza.
Mm-hmm.
I moved a lot because with my family when I was in my childhood.
When you were a kid?
Yes, because my father was a military man, so he was stationed in different cities in Spain.
What part of the what sector of the military was he in? Was he in the Navy or?
Yeah, no, in the earth.
He was in the Army?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we live in different cities, in Barcelona, Pamplona, Madrid, Zaragoza. And then, what can I tell you?
Did you move to another country? I can't remember.
Yes, yes. I studied my last year of secondary school, high school.
In Paris?
In Paris.
That's right. I remember talking to you about that.
Yes, I studied in Paris.
How exciting.
Yes, very excited. Very excited. Because my parents, I think they thought, they sent me to England 3 summers in a row. Mm-hmm. When I was from 14 to 17. And then probably they thought my English was finished. And then
it's never finished.
Yes, never finished.
Mine either.
So I went to, they sent me to Paris, first to the house of some friends of them, very good friends of them. And I spent there 9 months. And then I lived in a castle. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. I do remember this. And this was the first time I ever met you was when you came to the radio station and you told me this story about how you became an au pair.
Yeah.
I'm going to jog my memory here.
Yeah.
You became an au pair and you were living in the French countryside.
Yes.
In a
Maison
castle.
Lafitte. In Maison Lafitte.
In Maison Lafitte, because that's where the horses were. Remember I told you about...
Yeah.
There's
a school, a very important school of horses.
And it's kind of a museum, isn't it?
It's a museum.
Like
the
castle
in Maison Lafitte is beautiful. It's a 17th century castle. It was built by François Marsan. It was a very famous architect. And he was famous because he was very perfectionist and very stubborn. And I remember the lady of the castle told me the story that he used to build and rebuild the foundation. He built the houses and then he demolished them and rebuild them again.
So he was a perfectionist who was living with an obsessive compulsive disorder.
That's the case. And so only the rich people could afford it, you know, because he was all the time building and demolishing, rebuilding again
and meanwhile, the French peasants
of the house
are starving, you know, and while this guy is trying to spend as much money as he possibly can on rebuilding it. But he was a bit eccentric. I don't know much about him, but I know that he was obsessed with horses.
Yeah.
And he built this sort of homage to the equine species.
Yeah.
But you lived there.
I lived there.
You had your own room.
The last 3 months, because I didn't want to come to Spain.
You didn't want to come home?
When I finished my course, I didn't want to come to Spain, so I said to my parents, I want to stay here a little bit longer. And this couple found me that place, and I was there as a au pair girl. Yeah. And I lived there. It was very nice.
But you and I remember you telling me, Mamen, that you had a really positive experience with this family, and that isn't always the case with some of my friends who've been au pairs, who've gone to live with families, or with some of the people that have come from Europe to live with families. There are all these horror stories about people living as au pairs and how the family was mean to them.
Yeah, you have to be. For me, it was wonderful. My job wasn't very difficult, you know. I had to tell stories to the kids, to go with them for a walk, or to bring them to school, to take them to school, things like that. But I know that there are a lot of people that have problems with au pairs. I had au pairs
with your kids,
with my kids during 6 years, and I had great experience. You have to have an open mind because you know you have a person of another country in your house when your children are little. So you are a mother of, for example, an 18-year-old girl and kids of 6, 7, 8, or.
I never thought about it that way, but you're right.
But my case was I had at least 12 au pairs because during
Holy
6 years. Yes, because it was a term of summer girl and the winter girl, and from all over the world. So I had girls from the States, from Louisiana, from New Zealand, Australia, England, Ireland, Germany. So it was a very good thing for me, for my kids, to know other countries, other ways of thinking,
and they were able to practice.
It opens a lot your mind.
Well, sure. I mean, and it allows them to learn English, maybe, or to be exposed to English anyway at an early age.
They spoke English in a very natural way. Yeah. So they played in English with them. It was a very good thing.
Do you have one girl that sticks out in your memory? One that you remember as being your favorite?
Yes, I have two.
Okay, who were they?
I have the Louisiana girl, Robin, and she's married now, and she has a baby, and Kim, that she was from Germany. But all of them were fantastic.
Well, but you always, you know, just like a parent.
I
asked my mom.
I was like the mother for them, you know.
Yeah, parents always say that, oh, we don't have a favorite child, but the other kids know. Okay, there's always one child in the family that's sort of the favored, maybe not the most loved, but the favored one.
No.
The girl from Louisiana probably had a very sweet, I'm just guessing, very sweet nature, because people from the South in the United States are usually relaxed, very sweet people, very friendly, warm, as opposed to Northerners who are also nice people, but not as well.
My children loved her very much.
And so
she came in her honeymoon.
Yeah?
So
she came to Spain?
She came to Spain, to my house, and to visit us. And now she just have a baby. So,
how great that you were able to keep in touch with all of these
Yes, with
people.
most of them.
Now, when you were the au pair for the family in the castle in France, did they want you to teach Spanish to their children?
No, not in that case.
No?
No. But in my case, was compulsory. You know, I used to do an agreement with them when the children were at home or in the room or whatever, we talk in English. We spoke in English. And then when the children left the room or whatever, I switched into Spanish. Yes.
Did the kids?
And I taught them Spanish, and they learned a lot. Yeah.
I imagine the parents were a little bit surprised when they would come home and the kids would start saying things in Spanish.
No, but it was the only way that my kids spoke English, because if their mother doesn't speak English, they didn't, you know.
Right. Well, no, I mean, it sounds like I'm sure that they were lucky to have a young woman like you.
Yeah.
Because you seem like you're really responsible. You're also really friendly. You have children of your own now. You have, what, 3 kids?
3 kids.
And I remember when we were talking the last time, you told me a funny story. Well, you told me many funny stories.
Yes.
You have lots of stories.
Yes.
But there was one about you moving to Lanzarote.
Yes.
After you were first married to your husband.
Yeah.
And kind of having some crazy experiences there.
Yes.
When you were telling me about it the first time, I almost envisioned sort of this hippie lifestyle, but I doubt if it was like that.
No, it wasn't like that, because it was in a period, I'm talking about the mid to late 80s. Mm-hmm. And that at that time in Lanzarote, it was a very, the island was growing a lot. Mm-hmm. So there was a community of all over the world that went there to do business with in construction or things like that. And your
husband works in construction, so that was
in a construction company. It was the time where Cesar Manrique was alive, still alive, because he was killed by a tragic accident. Mm-hmm. But that time, and it was very interesting period, because you met people of different places. My neighbor, I remember, she was from Texas, and she was Miss Texas.
Yeah,
she was Miss
I remember
Texas.
You telling me that this Mindy, Miss Texas.
Miss Texas.
And the man that you mentioned who died, he was an architect, or wasn't he, or something?
She married...
No, I mean the guy that you mentioned before from Lanzarote, the famous
Lanzarote.
man.
He wasn't an architect, but he worked as an architect.
Yeah.
He merged the nature with architecture.
That's right.
And he did a style in Lanzarote, and he was really concerned about not to spoil the environment, and I remember that my husband knew him a lot.
What was his name? What was that guy's name? I remember looking him up.
Cesar Manrique.
Cesar Manrique. I remember after our interview, I went home and I Googled Cesar Manrique, because I wanted to see what this...
He was very well known in Lanzarote and all over the world. I think in New York he was very well known as a painter. Yeah. But in Lanzarote he did a style, and the island, I think, is very thank to him. It's quite. So
he kind of gave Lanzarote the style that it has in terms of the way it looks, the buildings. Yeah. They blend into the environment.
Yes.
Frank.
Right.
Right. But that's Frank. What's his middle name?
I don't remember. Well, I think you mean Wright.
The famous architect from the United States did the same thing, where he was trying to make buildings adapt to their environment.
It's what he did. Cesar Manrique, his house, his own house, that now it's a museum. It was built in a lava sea, and some of the rooms were made in bubbles, of
the bubbles
air,
of the lava.
Yes, of the lava. And it was beautiful. I've been there many times, and it was a beautiful house.
It's one place I have not been that I've wanted to go. There are a few places in Spain that are on my list. I've traveled around the country a lot, and I've been to the Baleares a lot, but I've not been to the Canary Islands.
You should go.
I know.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I would love to go. I'd love to go. I've heard Lanzarote is really cool. It looks like the moon.
Yes.
The surface of the moon.
Yes. The landscape is like to be in the moon.
Well, refresh my memory on this this Miss Texas. I remember thinking that was kind of funny.
Texas was very funny.
Yeah.
She was my neighbor, and she didn't have kids at that time. She had a little dog, and I have my baby. And every morning we woke up in the morning, and we see each other through the fence of the. She asked me, "How was your night? Did you have a good night?" And her dog was always horrible, a lot worse than my son, you know.
Well, barking a lot.
Yeah. But she was a very nice girl, and I remember she was very funny, very.
Was she pretty?
She was very
did she look like a beauty queen?
Very pretty, and she had what she called a vanity, and she had in her room a big vanity, and when she came to my house, she said, "But you don't have a vanity? How can you live without a vanity?" It was very.
Would Spaniards know what you mean by a vanity? I know what you mean.
A vanity is like a tocador.
It's like a place where you have all of your makeup and your brushes.
And she had hundreds of makeups and mascaras and everything, you know.
She sounds like of course this is a stereotype. She sounds a little bit like the stereotypical Southern beauty queen.
Yes.
Southern belle, because girls from the Midwest, where I'm from, we wouldn't spend that much time on our physical beauty, but I can imagine Miss Texas having every kind of thing for your hair, whatever. Well, so tell me a little bit about what you've been doing since I saw you last. I met you a few months ago.
Yeah.
I think you'd finished a Master's in Humanities course.
Yes.
And through Vaughan Systems, and you'd been practicing English. I mean, what are you going to do with all of this practicing? Are you going to travel to the United States again?
No, I think it's a personal gratification.
Really?
Because, I studied English at university, and I didn't reach my goal. I think now I'm improving with this method. I'm improving a lot. And I studied 2 courses with the humanities program, and they are very good because you kill two birds with one stone. You know, you learned.
You learn about things.
Yes, about things,
subjects,
and then you improve your English. Yeah. And then I go to the radio and.
Yeah, I mean, this is like a hobby for you. I've met a few people in my time here in Spain who actually like learning languages for just the sheer pleasure of learning something new. It could be anything. If it wasn't a language, it would be something else with you.
I have a lot of acquaintance and all the people that. So, as my husband works in the international area of his company, I have always to deal with foreign people, so I like to be comfortable and to.
Well, you can probably relate to so many people who come through Madrid because you speak French, you speak English, you speak Spanish. What else? You probably speak. That's enough.
That's enough.
That's enough. But I remember you telling me that your husband traveled a lot.
Yes,
and
he's always abroad.
I think if I remember correctly, my reaction was like, "Oh, wow, that's great," because you were like, "Yeah, my husband's gone a lot," and I was thinking, "Oh, isn't that like the perfect situation? You have a husband that you love, 3 wonderful children, you have a good marriage." I remember you telling me that you are very happy.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, Mom, and that's because your husband is like." You know, getting out of the house, and you've got
our own room.
You have free time. He has his free time, and so that the time you spend together is quality time.
Yeah.
You know, and do you have 2 girls at home? All of this is coming back to me.
I still have 2 girls at home. They're already at university, so I have. Now I'm more time for me.
Well, so what are you going to do with the second half of your life? Your kids are going to move out, go to school.
I don't know. I have a long life ahead of me, and I'm having fun now. I'm happy with what I'm doing, and I don't know.
Is there anything that you'd like to be doing aside from your hobby of perfecting your English? Is there anything else that you've thought about doing that you haven't done yet? Because I mean, I have these thoughts all the time, like, yeah, maybe I'd like to quit my job and go back to school or do this or do that, but I don't seem to be moving in that direction. Do you have any other ideas about things that you like to do?
As I've been at home with my children, and now I have more time for do things for myself. I think I'm in a stage, in a period that I'm doing what I want.
Yeah.
I don't know what is going to happen. I'm open to.
So you just sort of live day to day.
Yes, but.
I think that's probably the recipe for many people's happiness.
I don't think too much about my future. I think about my.
Your past?
No, not at all. Not at all.
I don't think about the future too much.
Too much.
I think
a little bit.
I think about it when I feel like I don't have enough money. Then I start thinking a little bit about the future. But most of the time I wake up and I'm like, yeah, you know, I have a pretty good life.
Yeah.
I have a great job. I meet a lot of interesting people every day, so no complaints.
Very nice.
I don't know though. I mean, I feel as I get older that one of the only benefits, I don't like getting older at all. I don't think many women do. But the only thing that I think is good about it, and maybe you can relate to this, is that I don't let anybody tell me what to do.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't care what someone wants. If I don't want to do something, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And when you're younger, I think you have a different way of approaching that.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And another thing is that you have more clear, and everything you do, you are more secure, I think. It's only, it has to have some advantages, because everything is disadvantage, so it's
about the only advantage I can think of in terms of getting older that I really like. Like, I like all of a sudden in the last 2 or 3 years that I'm like, hey, I'm not intimidated by employers.
Yeah.
I don't let people tell me what to do. I often am considered to be sort of obstinate because I do what I want. My parents don't bother me anymore. You know, I mean, because you grow up and you have relationships with your parents that are a little bit tempestuous. And now when I talk to my mom, I'll say stuff to her that I wouldn't have said 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And she'll say, oh, Kathleen, you know, sort of like mildly disgusted with me. But I don't know. It's the only thing I like about it.
Yeah. But, you know, it's, we have a lot of things to do.
Well, women in our age, in our era, at our age, we are not like women of our mother's generation, or certainly our grandmother's generation. I think people are in better health. Women take care of themselves. We have more cosmetic things that we can do to look and feel good. People know a lot more about the benefits of exercise and nutrition. Yeah. Because when I look at pictures of my mom, when she was my age, I'm like, wow, you know, geez. Yeah. You know, not sexy. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I feel, I'm grateful to be living when
nowadays
I'm living.
We are in a good period, I think.
Well, you kind of lived through the big transition in the Spanish social structure. I mean, in the way that women were living. What was it like when you were a young woman living here? Were women?
I don't have any bad memories about that life was too oppressive or things like that. No, I had a quite free education. Yeah. Traditional, but I think open to the world.
I think that's where the family's influence is much greater than society's influence. Yeah. I think the influence that your parents must have had, they were probably pretty open.
My parents were open. My father, on the one hand, he had a very traditional mind. Yeah. He was a military man. Yeah. But on the other hand, as he was a journalist as well, I think he had a mixed there that make him very, very wise.
Well, we should thank him because his influence made you such an interesting woman to talk to. We're at the end of our interview, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
I know, the time flies. But Mamen, it's always so nice to talk to you because you have so many things to talk about. Mamen Ramos, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
It's great to see you
having
again.
Me.
And thank you for tuning in to another conversation here in my living room. I'll be back with more interesting guests for you in another show very soon. Adios, hasta luego. Bye-bye.